with the Browns, Bucks, Steelers, and Panthers on a bye. That's a lot of receivers, man, that are out this week. So who can we start to get that W? Because I know a lot of y'all are trying to win that fantasy championship, and a lot of y'all playing for that cash money, much like I. So let's see who we can start this week. But before we get into that, what's crack-a-lack? It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know. So go ahead and leave a thumbs up if you enjoy the content, and become a bro and subscribe. It's much appreciated, much obliged. I'm trying to get this channel up off the ground, so I might need a little help. So lend me your help, lend me your energy. That's a Dragon Ball Z joke. Yeah, I like anime. But let's talk about the Thursday night game. We're going to talk about Kansas City versus Denver. Despite the struggles for KC, a lot of their woes right now are in the run game. They've lost Chris Jones, and teams are just attacking them up the middle. It's what they're doing now. So Kansas City right now, they're 10th against opposing receivers, which is pretty darn good. But Emmanuel Sanders, he was a full go this week for practice, and I think that bodes good for Courtland Sutton. Courtland Sutton's been playing very good, and a lot of that's because a lot of the tension's going Emmanuel Sanders' way. And even when Sanders went down last week with the injury, he played well, man. He played really good. I think Sutton's a good play against the Chiefs, especially if they're going to try to stay in this game with the Chiefs, because that's a very good offense, despite the current losing streak. And then I think Tyreek Hill's the only start this week. Denver, they're first against opposing wide receivers. They're really good, and Tyreek's the only guy I would trust. Sammy Watkins, he's not likely to play this week. Even if he was, I'd be hesitant, as most you Watkins owners probably already know he's kind of been a dud after that week 1 performance. So let's talk about Miami versus Buffalo. Speaking of duds, Miami, don't start no one from Miami. Shame on you if you are. I know Devontae Parker, he has like touchdowns in consecutive games. That'll probably end here, so yeah, no thanks. I don't want any part of that Miami offense. Brown and Beasley, they both should be good plays. I think a majority of this game will be Buffalo running the ball, but I think Beasley will get a lot of work. He's only had 2 games where he's had less than 4 targets. He's a PPR machine if he gets going. And then John Brown, I expect at least a touchdown from John Brown, because that defense there in Miami, I don't know if you know, they're bad. Now let's talk about the Rams versus the Falcons. Jalen Ramsey, will he play this week though? I want to know that. Not that it changes my position much, because I think everyone for the Falcons is a start. You almost have to play them. The reason that there's 2 reasons the Rams are making these trades. 1, they're banged up at corner, and 2, they really need to shed that cap. They need to get rid of those high. Those basically high. Why do I keep saying high? I don't know, because they pay him so much. That's why I keep saying it. They're giving him a lot of money, and that's why they've made a couple of these trades. Granted, they're gonna have to pay Jalen Ramsey a lot of money, but they might wait to do that in the off season. So I still think they're susceptible to getting attacked through the air. I don't know necessarily. I'm kind of in this boat where not all of them could play well, or not all of them could at least score well for fantasy, but you almost have to take the shot. And as far as the Rams, first verse is same as the first verse same as the first, second verse same as the first. There we go. I'll learn that saying one day. One day I'll get it right. But yeah, you really have to play Woods. You have to play Kupp. I mean, Kupp's almost a given, and you have to play Cook, especially the Falcons. They're 31st against opposing receivers. It's like an all-you-can-eat buffet, but not everyone's gonna be able to eat, unfortunately. That's just how it is. Jacksonville versus Cincinnati. Really, this is DJ Chark versus D.D. Westbrook. I feel one will go off and the other not so much. I'm kind of leaning towards Chark because that's kind of Minshew's guy. I know he had a down game, but again, that was a really good Saints defense, and he's matched up against Lattimore, so there's that. As far as Cincinnati, Boyd and Tate seem like safe options. They see a ton of targets. It won't work out all the time, but they get the opportunity to score you a lot of points. And then some of y'all might be curious about Alex Erickson. Not yet. Not yet, bro. Not yet. Now let's talk about Minnesota versus Detroit. I don't see a world where you bench Diggs or Thielen right now. As long as Cousins is hot, I say ride that trio right there. And Detroit, Minnesota, they're pretty middle of the pack. They're 14th against opposing receivers. Really, Galladay seems like the only safe option for targets there. So I would really only play Galladay. We saw Jones. He didn't really get involved in the offense against the Packers. So yeah, Galladay it is. Oakland versus Green Bay. Let's first address the easy one. Oakland, they face Green Bay, which is 11th against opposing receivers. But this offense it goes through Tyrell Williams and Darren Waller. So you can almost trust that Williams will get like 7 to 10 targets. So I think he is a start. Not a great start, but he is a start nonetheless. Now let's talk about Green Bay. Because will Adams play? We don't know. Will Allison play? Probably not. That was a pretty nasty hit he took. And MVS is banged up. So it's really tough to like any of those options. And this is a pretty good matchup. So who do we start? Allen Lazard. Man, that guy, he could be a sneaky play this week. I really like him. And even more so, it's the fact that he was endorsed by Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers was like, I like this guy. I've liked him in practice. Put him in the game. And what do? The first 2 plays of the game, they go to him on deep routes, back to back. The first one, this close to being a touchdown. Second time, it was a touchdown. So I think he's good for a sneaky play this week if there's no Adams and if there's no Allison. Now let's talk about Houston versus Indianapolis. Hilton is back. No one else matters. You start Ty, and then you have to play DeAndre Hopkins. That's just the thing. And Fuller might be a good flex play. Indianapolis, they're again middle of the pack. They're 16th, actually right there in the middle, as far as giving up points to opposing receivers. And I really only say start Fuller because how hot Deshaun Watson is right now. Arizona versus the Giants. Woo, man, I would check Christian Kirk's status before this game. I don't really know who I would like if Kirk wasn't able to play. Really, I think only Larry, because this is a really good matchup. The Giants, they're 29th against opposing receivers, but you really don't know who becomes that second receiver. Is it Keyshawn Johnson? Is it Bird? Maybe does Andy Isabella get some play finally? You don't know, but Larry is for sure a start. Now, let's talk about the Giants because Tate looked great last week against a very tough defense. He should look great this week against a atrocious defense, especially the secondary hasn't been playing well. And actually, I think they get Patrick Peterson. I think they get Patrick Peterson back this week. I don't know how much that'll matter, but that'd be interesting. But I still think Tate is good, and if Shepard is good to go, I think he is a good start as well. Now let's talk about San Fran versus Washington. Pettis is finally getting some time to shine, and I really like that. Is he good enough to start? It's a really good matchup, but we know what San Fran likes to do. They like to control the clock. They like to run the ball. So honestly, with Deebo Samuel hurt as well, Pettis might not be a bad option. For Washington, it's a tough matchup, but Terry McLaurin would be the only guy you start. He has the trust of Case Keenum, and he has been on a tear this whole season. Anytime he's been able to play, it's been a good one. Now let's talk about the Chargers versus the Titans. The Titan receivers. No. The Chargers are 5th against opposing receivers, so yeah, I don't like it. Let's talk about the Chargers because I expect Allen to be good this game. I know the Titans, they're 9th against opposing receivers, so it's a tough matchup. So I don't really like Mike Williams in this matchup, but I do like Allen because he will be guarded by, I assume he's going to be guarded by Malcolm Butler, who, he's okay. He's subpar. But we know Keenan Allen, pretty darn good. So I like him in this matchup. New Orleans versus the Bears. Michael Thomas. You have to start him. He's the only guy I trust. He's the only guy Teddy Bridgewater really trusts too. Let's also talk. This is another interesting pick because I like Allen Robinson in this matchup. I talked about how the Saints, they've been getting much better on defense week in, week out. But will Lattimore, because Lattimore has been susceptible about, like, sometimes he I don't want to say underestimates, but it seems like he just doesn't care sometimes. And he'll let some plays go. But if he's like really motivated by a matchup, like with Mike Evans, then he goes into pure shutdown mode. I'm curious if that'll happen to Allen Robinson, but I think you have to start him this week. Now let's talk about the Ravens versus the Seahawks. Tough matchup, even if Hollywood Brown was available, but Seahawks, they are 13th against opposing receivers, and the Ravens aren't that good at passing the ball, so start no one. Now, as far as the Seahawks, man, Tyler Lockett, he's almost a start every week. He might not always bring the heat, but he's almost a guarantee to get you some sort of output. The Ravens are 22nd against opposing receivers. Granted, they added Marcus Peters, but the thing about Lockett is they'll move him around everywhere, outside slot. So I don't think Peters will necessarily be matching up every play against Lockett. Now let's talk about the Eagles versus the Cowboys. Despite the tough matchup for Alshon Jeffrey, Cowboys, they're 6th against opposing receivers. I like it. He's the prime target of Wentz. That's not Zach Ertz. So I like him in this matchup. I think he's almost matchup proof. That is if, and that's if, Deshaun Jackson isn't there. Deshaun Jackson, if he's back, I like this. This team Dallas got beat bad over the top by Robbie Anderson repeatedly. Just monitor it. If Jackson's back, he's a good start this week. As far as Dallas, man, if Cooper is able to play, you start Cooper. But if he's not, then a whole bevy of players become really good. Michael Gallup is a good option. The Eagles, they're 32nd when it comes to giving points to opposing receivers. And then Tavon Austin. I think even if Randall Cobb gets healthy, this is Tavon Austin's role right now. As a slot, he performed way better than Cobb. Cobb is shell of his former self. I like Austin in this matchup if there's no Cooper. Now, the Monday night game, New England. I only like Edelman. Just gonna keep saying that 6-7 times. As for the Jets, man, I don't like anybody. Patriots, they're a tough matchup. If I were to go with somebody, the only guy I'm really kind of persuaded to play would be Jamison Crowder. When Darnold, both games Darnold's played, he had 17 targets in week 1, and then last week he had 9 targets. Still a bad matchup, but if you have to play somebody, Crowder's not a bad option. That's it for the video. Go ahead, do the YouTube stuff. It's much appreciated, much obliged. But, yeah, good luck this weekend. Till next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.